Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Lucy and I'm going to be facilitating an Art for All group today. We did a group last week that some of you might have tuned into. It was quite pixelated, so I'm going to go back over some of the activities and some of the ideas that I showed you last week, and I'm also going to show you a new activity this week and ask for your participation in an ongoing art project. So stay tuned and I'll take you through everything. So last week the activity was to find an object in your home that holds happy memories. And I chose a couple of objects with a couple of different ideas of how you can make artwork around those objects. So first of all, I have a bouquet of artificial flowers. So tiny bit dusty, but I thought, right, I'll make artwork around those. And those of you who were watching last week would have seen the artwork that I made, but you might not have been able to see it very clearly. So I will show you what I did. So I just used some felt tip pens and just made some shapes that I could see in the bouquet, and some shapes that I added. So see down here there are some squares. I just put those in because I thought, why not just experiment with the shape? And I've been going over and adding in some black lines, just some outlines, but it doesn't necessarily need that. So I was looking at the bouquet, but then also improvising a bit and just seeing what came out. So that's one thing with an object. You can kind of look at the shapes that you find and then improvise and do your own shapes and just turn it into something else. I also made it, if I hold it up against myself, it's quite small. So you don't need to do something necessarily that big, but you can condense things down and make it in quite a small space and just sort of say, I'm going to fill this square with whatever comes. And you can use a pencil, you can use felt tips, you can use coloured pencils, really whatever you have to hand. So that was one idea that we went through last week. And then I thought, right, well I'll think about a 3D object, and I chose another little object here. So this has happy memories for me because my friend who lives in Edinburgh has one of these as well, and she keeps this on her mantelpiece, and I have one here in London. And it's happy and sad because we both have one and we're both connected in that way, but also we're far apart, and lots of people are feeling that at the moment, that we can't all be together, but we're together in some ways. So I decided to see how would I approach a 3D object. And what I did was literally, I thought, I don't actually want to draw this, I just want to make my life a bit easy. So I traced around, hold it up properly, I traced around the hair, and then I did curves of lines. So I just drew curve, I'm trying to do this in a mirror image, curve there, another curve going down there, all these curves, and then I just filled them in with pattern. If I hold it up to the camera, you can see some patterns I was just filling in the curves, and it's quite a good way to either get in touch with kind of the way you're thinking and feeling, but also kind of if you just want to take a moment and just to relax and just, I don't know, maybe get away from the news, get away from, I don't know, all the different things that are going on in the world. You can just fill in. It's almost like you're making your own colouring book. The same effect that you can get with a colouring book is actually something you can get here. And you can just really be aware of like the way you're making the lines, the way you're shaping the shapes, and just the feel of the pen on the paper. And that can be actually really quite relaxing and quite calming. And also it's something you can put down and come back to because it's not something you need to do all in one go. So I quite enjoy doing that. I'm going to carry on doing that this week. Then I also thought, well, I don't know, I've been making some 2D work. What if I tried to make 3D work? And maybe if I could try to be a bit thrifty about what I use in my artwork. And I thought, well, what do we all have a lot of? We probably all have a lot of cardboard, even though the rubbish collectors and recycling collectors are doing an amazing job coming and collecting all the recycling we now have at home. We probably still all have a lot of cardboard and a lot of toilet roll tubes. As we all know, toilet roll tubes have been in the news a lot. And so I thought, how about if I try and make my little hair out of toilet roll tube. So I'll hold this up to the camera, and this I just used, turn it around, I used a toilet roll tube with some tape inside. I squished it and I cut the edges, and I used a felt tip. I had a paint sample, so you might not necessarily have brightly coloured paints, but if you have white emulsion in your house, I think I mentioned this last week, if you can add paints to that, you can sort of decant out little bits of white paint, then add paints to that, and you can make lots and lots of different pastel colours, and stronger colours if you add more pigment. But I didn't have any red paint, so I used nail polish, because I thought, actually I can add a layer to this. It doesn't have to just be a 3D object. This could be the hare is going through a cornfield and there are poppies there. So I thought, actually using the object to tell a story as well, and to tell a wider story. And I could have actually done almost kind of an illustration, almost like a comic strip of kind of what the object is going to do. Is this a real hare that's going to go on a journey? Is it going to go visit its counterpart in Edinburgh? There are ways that you can take the objects in your home and actually just think about them in a different way. So yeah, so that was my other object. The other project that I introduced last week was something that we're hoping to do for St Christopher's Hospice, and that is a mobile. This was originally going to be for Dying Matters Week and was originally going to hang in Croydon Library, Croydon Town Hall, but now I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen there, but we're still hoping to make this piece, and I think you might be able to see behind me, probably in the sunshine, it's not too easy, so I'll go get it down. This is the start of a mobile that has pressed flowers that have been laminated, and some jasmine, some different bits and pieces. I'll just pop this down here. And I've been pressing more flowers, so those will all be cut out and held with transparent fishing line, and my geraniums have also been put there. So what I've been asking people to do is to, when you go out on your government mandated walk, or if you happen to have a garden, or if you happen to have a pot plant, if you can spare it, and also if the flowers aren't protected, so please don't pick wild bluebells or wild violets or any flowers that are protected. But if you happen to see a flower, and if you happen to be able to press it at home, you might have a flower press, or you might have just a book and some kitchen paper and a heavy object to put on top of it. If you want to press flowers or leaves and to be part of this mural, of this mobile, then we would really love to see the flowers that you make. And if you want to send them in, we can laminate them and include them as part. And we'd like to eventually make this into a really big piece that brings together people from all different walks of life, whether that's people who are patients at the hospice, people who are community members, staff, family, friends, because I think I felt that actually spring is still happening, summer is around the corner, life is going on, even though we're all kind of in our own little laminated areas, we're apart but we're still together, and maybe this shows something of that. And I think it also reminded me of the fact that we can hear the trees now, we can hear the birds, so maybe there's something in the silence and the listening and what we hear when we listen. So that's maybe a bit of a grandiose way of thinking about it, but that's kind of what this expresses to me. And I think also on our own we're one thing, but together we can come together and make something really beautiful, actually. So yeah, please send in your pressed flowers once they're ready, and if you would like to. I'm going to carry on building the mobile. Oh, there's even found another one. We've got some buttercups as well. So it's production is continuing. And yeah, so next and finally, I'd like to show you the activity that we're going to do today. So the activity I I've devised for today. I've got another bunch of flowers. These were something that might end up being pressed. These were some lilacs I found growing over the back of an abandoned bit of park. So I sort of liberated them and brought them home with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a drawing, but part of when you're doing this drawing is you don't look at the piece of paper when you're drawing, so you just look at your subject, and you can pick anything from around your house. You could pick just a bowl or a cup, or you could pick a picture that might be a little bit complicated. You could pick a plant, you could pick a chair, you could pick anything really, another person if they're willing to sit still long enough. But I'm going to quickly do this flower or this vase, bunch of flowers, and really trying to concentrate. And it doesn't matter what the end result looks like. It will be quite interesting to see what this turns out looking like. But you really want to try and concentrate on the shapes and just maybe how they relate to each other, but without looking at your paper. So I'll do this quite quickly and show you the result. So actually I might, I'll chat for a little bit, and then I might pause the video and then just show you my final result. So this is it's quite a challenge, I suppose. Also looking at the camera as well, and then trying to let your hand kind of take you around the image. And I looked down just then, which I shouldn't have done. You can also try and do it in one continuous line as well. That's maybe a bit of a good way of trying to kind of keep your focus on the right part of the picture. And maybe I might be getting a bit ahead of myself, but it might be a bit might make life a little bit easier. I looked down again just then. It's quite hard to do, but it is actually quite rewarding if you manage to hold your nerve and do this. So I'm just doing the outlines of the shapes, and maybe going in and doing some little detail bits, and like changing the way I'm drawing the line, and then trying to go back along and go down to the vase, trying to get the shape of the vase. And where I've been quite scribbly with the lilac lines, I'm trying to be quite smooth with the line of the vase, and then just going round again, and then smooth line of the vase again, and really struggling not to look at, but it's quite fun as well. Actually, it's a bit of a game to see if you can see what you can, and I have no idea what this is going to look like when I'm done, and it might look nothing like what I think it's going to look like. I'm wondering whether the lines are actually going to join up in the end. So here we have my lilac vase, and this is what it was meant to look like. So there's some resemblance there, and obviously you can spend a lot longer on this, and you can go back over and add bits in, but you can see that we have kind of the general shape, but and you can see the bits where I try to go back in and kind of do some of the depth and kind of, but you could spend a lot longer over this and actually do kind of, if I did, I suppose, kind of a little, even went back in with a little bit of detail, that there's actually there, you could add in these little flowers and then add in some colour, and it could be actually quite an interesting piece. So something to have a go at, and something you can do with loads of different objects, and as you practice it will get easier, and new shapes will emerge, and you can experiment with different things. And once you've done this, you can actually maybe collage it as well, sort of follow the shapes, cut out pieces and make it into something really different. So something different to try. So thank you very much for joining me today. I'll look forward to hearing your feedback, and please say if there's anything you'd like me to include in these sessions, or anything different that you'd like to see. I'll also be introducing next week another group project that we're doing at St Christopher's, and for that, if you want to come along to the session with an idea in your head of something beautiful, and this could be a real concrete object that you think is beautiful, or just a concept or an idea, and we're going to explore that and explore a really interesting method of making artwork as well that I will be demonstrating for you. And hopefully it's a sunny day, because that's what this method of artwork requires. So I'll leave you on that slightly mysterious note. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Stay safe.